They didn't suspend him. They didn't fine him. They didn't even strip him of his title. Triple H picked up the phone and called the actual police on Oba Femi, not WWE security, not road agents, not a fine from talent relations, the actual cops, badges, handcuffs. A squad car pulled backstage at a WWE arena, and the reason why is so brutal, so violent, so beyond anything we've seen in years. The WWE's entire backstage is in chaos right now. And if you think this is kayfabe, if you think this is a storyline, you are not going to believe what actually went down. Stay with me, because this story gets darker every single minute. Let's go back to how this started, because Oba Femi didn't just snap out of nowhere. This man has been a walking pressure cooker for months. Since the moment he arrived on the main roster, Oba Femi has been disrespected, overlooked, and treated like a mid-card afterthought by the WWE machine. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar, a man who has been on and off the roster for years, who takes breaks whenever he feels like it, who shows up and immediately gets handed main event positioning, Brock Lesnar was walking around backstage acting like he owned the place. Again. Now here's where sources start to paint a very specific picture. According to people who were there people backstage that night, Brock Lesnar made a comment. We don't know exactly what was said, but we know it was directed at Oba Femi. We know it was dismissive, condescending, the kind of thing a veteran says to a younger talent when he wants to remind them of the food chain. Maybe it was about Oba's title reign. Maybe it was about his in-ring style. Maybe it was just Brock being Brock, which, depending on who you ask backstage, is an absolute nightmare to deal with on a regular day. But Oba Femi is not your average talent. This is a man built like a Greek god who moves like a cruiserweight. This is a man who has been quietly stewing, quietly watching, quietly waiting for his moment to show the entire locker room who he really is. And when Lesnar opened his mouth that night, Oba Femi decided his moment had arrived. What happened next was not a worked fight. What happened next was not a scripted confrontation for television. Multiple witnesses confirmed that Oba Femi, without warning, without hesitation, attacked Brock Lesnar in a backstage corridor. And we're not talking about a shove. We're not talking about a heated argument that got physical. We are talking about a sustained, violent assault that left Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate, on the ground. Let that sink in for a moment. Brock Lesnar, the man who was a UFC heavyweight champion, the man who has destroyed some of the most elite athletes this planet has ever produced, the man who has made legends tap out and main eventers cry on the way to the hospital. That Brock Lesnar was beaten down backstage by Oba Femi and couldn't stop it. Witnesses say the attack lasted several minutes before road agents and security could physically pull Oba off. Brock reportedly sustained significant injuries. He was taken to a local medical facility. The word hospitalized has been thrown around by multiple sources, and the locker room hardened professionals who have seen everything in this industry was reportedly in complete shock. People were shaking. Veterans who have worked in WWE for decades said they had never seen anything like it. Now here is where Triple H enters the picture, and this is where it gets political in a way that is going to make your blood boil. Triple H was informed within minutes, and the decision he made next will divide this entire fanbase right down the middle. Because Triple H, the chief content officer of WWE, the man who calls himself the builder of the future, the man who preaches about how this new era of WWE is all about professionalism and respect and doing business the right way, Triple H called law enforcement not a suspension pending investigation, not a psychological evaluation, not a mediation between two grown men in a business where physical violence is literally what they do for a living. He called the police. And when word spread backstage that cops had actually shown up, that there was a genuine law enforcement presence inside the arena, the locker room fractured almost instantly. Half the locker room sided with Triple H. They said Oba crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. That regardless of what Lesnar said, you do not put your hands on a colleague in a genuine, uncontrolled act of violence. That if this behavior goes unpunished, truly, legally, meaningfully punished, then the entire social contract of the locker room collapses. Any talent could attack any other talent and just say they were provoked. The precedent would be catastrophic. But the other half of the locker room? They are furious with Triple H. They are saying that Brock Lesnar has been protected by this company for years. That Lesnar has bullied, disrespected, and steamrolled younger talent with zero accountability because he is a part-timer who draws money. They are saying that what Oba Femi did was the response of a man who was pushed past his limit, and that calling the police on a black man for standing up for himself, while the man who provoked him faces zero professional consequences, sends a message. A loud one. One that the entire locker room heard clearly. And they are not wrong to raise that point. Because here is the uncomfortable question hanging over everything right now: if Brock Lesnar had attacked Oba Femi in that corridor, would Triple H have called the cops? Or would there have been a quiet conversation, a handshake, and a line in a dirt sheet 2 weeks later saying it had been handled internally? That question is being asked in locker rooms, in group chats, in podcasts being recorded right now, and nobody has a clean answer. Now let's talk about Oba Femi himself because his response to all of this has been extraordinary. Word got back to him that Triple H had called law enforcement, and according to everyone who spoke to him in the immediate aftermath, Oba Femi did not panic, did not plead, did not make excuses. He reportedly looked at the people around him, said very few words, and waited, calm, still, like a man who made a decision and has absolutely zero regret about it. That psychological composure from a man who had just assaulted one of the most dangerous human beings on the planet and was now potentially facing criminal charges is either the sign of someone who is completely unhinged, or someone who has been waiting for this moment for so long that it feels like relief. Maybe both. When police arrived backstage, there were conversations. There were statements taken. And this is the critical detail that everyone is waiting on right now, whether Brock Lesnar chooses to press charges. Because without Lesnar's cooperation, the criminal case essentially falls apart. And Brock Lesnar pressing charges against Oba Femi would open a door that neither man and honestly, not WWE wants opened. Because if this goes to court, if testimony is given under oath, if the full story of what Lesnar said and what the history between these two men actually is gets read into a legal record, that is a nuclear scenario for everybody involved. Some people close to Lesnar are saying he will press charges, that his ego alone demands it, that Brock Lesnar is not the kind of man who gets put on the ground and lets it go quietly. Others are saying Lesnar knows exactly how bad this looks for him, that a former UFC champion and wrestling monster needed law enforcement to deal with a younger talent, and that pride, ironically, might be the thing that keeps him from pursuing it legally. Meanwhile, Oba Femi's title reign is now in jeopardy. WWE is in an impossible position. If they strip the title from Oba, a young, rising black talent who is arguably the hottest thing on NXT or the main roster right now, the optics are catastrophic in one direction. If they let him keep the title and return to television while this investigation is ongoing, the optics are catastrophic in the other direction. Triple H is sitting in a room right now with lawyers, PR people, and creative figuring out how to make a decision that literally cannot be made cleanly. And the fans? The fans are split. Social media is an absolute war zone. Half the comments are defending Oba Femi and calling him a hero for doing what half the locker room has wanted to do to Brock Lesnar for years. The other half are calling him reckless, dangerous, and say that no matter the provocation, this behavior cannot be tolerated in a professional environment. The hashtags are trending. The takes are scorching. Nobody is sitting this one out. Here is the bottom line, the thing that nobody in WWE's corporate structure wants to say out loud, but every single person with eyes and a functioning brain can see clearly: this was inevitable. When you bring Brock Lesnar back, again and again, and surround him with hungry, elite young talents who have worked their entire lives for an opportunity that Lesnar takes and discards like a Tuesday lunch break, you build resentment. You build rage. And eventually, that rage finds a target. Oba Femi was not just fighting Brock Lesnar in that corridor. He was fighting every dismissive comment, every passed-over push, every moment where a part-timer got handed what a full-time grinder deserved. He snapped, but he didn't snap randomly. He snapped at the precise symbol of everything that has frustrated him. And a lot of people in that locker room understand it completely, even if they won't say it on camera. What happens next is genuinely unknown. Charges may be filed. Oba Femi may be suspended, released, or in the wildest possible timeline somehow returned to television because WWE's need for star power outweighs the chaos. Brock Lesnar's next move will define everything. And Triple H's legacy as a new era leader is now directly tied to how he handles a situation that every decision seems to make worse. One thing is certain: the WWE locker room will never be the same after this night. The dynamic has shifted. The power has shifted. And Oba Femi, handcuffed or free, suspended or champion, has announced himself to every single person in that building in a way that no promo, no match, and no championship reign ever could. The beast got broken. And the man who did it isn't running. He's standing still. Comment below, whose side are you on? Drop a share if you think WWE is handling this wrong. And subscribe to Ring Rumble 1, because this story is far from over.